Hey guys, welcome back to Fleetyards. I'm Captain Foley.
And Connor Coons.
And this is Fleetyards Mission Briefing, where we take a look at a ship from the sci-fi universe, the multiverse of sci-fi-ness that's out there, and we grab some ships out of that and we take a look at them, an early first look, and kind of get our thoughts on it, and eventually we'll be doing full episodes on some of these ships down the road for our full Fleetyards episodes. But that's another story. So this is episode 2, and if you haven't checked out the pilot episode, please do so.
Please do.
But Commander,
Yes.
what are we talking about today?
Well, it's worth mentioning again that this show is special because every shot is an original render, 1080p, all glorious detail. We'll tell you when it's the original studio model, we'll tell you when it's not. This is the video game Mass Effect 2 game rip, so it is the real model, but for video game. We are doing the Normandy SR2 from the video game Mass Effect 2, specifically, and then 3. Now, this is a cool ship for me. I love Mass Effect. First of all, have you seen or played Mass Effect?
Seen a little bit of Mass Effect, haven't played it, but why don't you tell all the viewers out there and myself what Mass Effect is all about, just in a nutshell. Okay,
Mass Effect is a video game franchise. It's kind of like the big sci-fi RPG on Xbox and PS4, 3 and 4 and such. You take the role of Connor Shepard, who is this this commander, and you do this big story, and it's, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's an enemy called the Reaper, and you really care for the characters, and you have all these different choices, and it's a really excellent series. 3 games, always got better.
Is it a first-person shooter, or what kind of style?
It's a third-person shooter, but obviously heavy RPG elements as well. But I love it because it's got such a full universe. They really world-builded. They really fleshed out amazing aliens. And because it's a video game, just render aliens. I mean, they did all sorts of amazing things. Cool. So I want to hear your first impression of this Normandy SR2. And I'll tell you some stuff about it, and we'll go through the design. What do you think, though?
Well, my friend Dave is all into aerospace technology and X-planes, and that's what I see when I first see this. That's what I think is an X-plane or a futuristic kind of space liner, kind of futuristic jumbo jet which goes out of the atmosphere. That's what I'm thinking when I see this. Even with the striping on the side, it looks almost like a commercial airline.
Interesting. You're not far off.
Really?
Yeah, which is why this show's great, because for the most part, these are ships that you've never even looked at and given any thought. So this is a really interesting thing. This is the first version, the SR1, which was destroyed at the beginning of the first Mass Effect, was quite a lot smaller, smaller engines, and it was basically a sort of a stealth military fighter frigate. Not a big ship, but it has a pretty decent sized crew of probably 50 or 60. Once it was destroyed, they decided they needed a bigger ship to do bigger missions, and this is basically stylistically the same, but all the elements are sort of just made a bit bigger and more bulky. And this is a far bigger ship with a large cargo bay, with a drivable vehicle, which is in the first one too, but this is a bigger vehicle for the second one, and just more functionality. And you can actually walk around the entire set in the video game. Nice. So it's certainly not very big, but it's interesting. Now, the sizing is interesting because Star Trek is very defined in its scaling, but why we're not doing scaling charts like renders for this show is because it's all up for debate a little bit. One specific chart says the SR1 is 130 meters, the SR2 being 160, but another source says it's 216. So we'll have to work out the real details, but it's meant to be a stealth reconnaissance frigate, if that gives you any indication. So does that change your perspective knowing the size? It's not huge, and obviously it's length rather than width, so imagine how many crew you can get into that small space.
No, it more confirms my thought. It doesn't... That's pretty much the size that I thought it would be.
Okay.
Not very large at all. So so you're saying it is a military vehicle, though? Like
yes,
with
it's
weapons
military.
And
yes, absolutely. Or this one was an improved version. The first one, the SR1, was I can't remember I think they're called the Alliance, the military force, the human military force. But this SR2 was built by the Elusive Man, the Cerberus organization, which is sort of a shady Earth First force. But the crew use it because they were given it no real choice. So it's an improvement in every way. But it's. I don't know, I mean, you tell me. I mean, I really like this ship. But you're right, definitely it's atmospheric craft. It's meant to fly through atmosphere, land. Well, at least get so close it can throw people off and throw other vehicles off. So, yeah.
No, it's cool. I think it's a fantastic design. And like I said, it fits in the aerospace X-plane kind of look for me, so I have no problems with it being an atmospheric ship. Now, does it do interplanetary travel as well, or is it?
So the Mass Effect universe has no FTL.
Okay. That's faster than light for all you people out there that.
Thank you, Stuart. Now, it does have the ability to travel to other star systems, but not individual ships' ability to go FTL. I think one of the biggest ships can, but nothing in a range, because the game's called Mass Effect, and the way they travel is called the Mass Effect Relay. This is the only sci-fi show where they use, or franchise where they use gravity and the idea of changing gravity. So a Mass Effect Relay is this big ancient device which, if you have, I believe it's called like the Mass Effect mineral on your ship, it uses that in conjunction with the Mass Effect Relay. It charges it, and it can make the mass of your ship down to like nothing, which means that when you're then pushed forward by the force of the Mass Effect Relay, because your mass is so zero, your speed is so fast, so it gives you that jump between star systems by lowering your physical mass and weight. So this ship is only between star systems. So without Mass Effect Relays, you would be lost, which is a really interesting concept. So it basically is just a very large sort of fighter or an Air Force One, but very sleek and movable. Yeah, but let's go to the next picture though, because a hell of a lot in the first picture. As you can see, very, very big engines, very, very, thrust, and this is the big difference between the two versions. This is big engines. What do you think?
Yeah, you didn't really get the feel of the huge size engines from that first shot just because of the angling of it. This is very cool. I like these. Again, I'm a Star Trek guy. They're very reminiscent of like Klingon Vorcha nacelles,
yes.
almost.
Absolutely.
Kind of the same shapes and cutouts. So I think that's very cool. So are those? It's 4 engines then, not just 2 and like.
Yes.
Okay, 4 engines.
Yeah, cool. And I like sort of the realism, because they look like chemical jet engines, because it's just, it's very, they're very good with, not say realism, but everything feels very alive and legitimate in the Mass Effect universe. And I'll say one thing: the scale for the ship, without context of other ships, you just think of it as your ship, and for us the players, it's our home. But if you look at really the middle bit, you can see the windows. I mean, they're not. I mean, it's like 3 or so. I mean, there is like physical hull, so it's like 3 or 4 decks tall, but just that single cylinder is livable. Both wings are just tech. It's just a tube with engines. Well,
that's what I said again. It goes back to like almost like a jumbo jet feel for me. The main fuselage and the jets, the engines. So now, is there like, what kind of living quarters and stuff are on this? Like, is it very meant for long mission profiles, or is it more like a battleship design, or what can you relate it to?
Well, if you look at the physical space, I think you should afterwards. The internal designs are excellent. This version, particularly, this is bigger. There's a decent amount of space. It's not a huge crew, but I think it's meant to have the room to let you do your job. It's got, the bridge area has a single pilot, and then about 8 secondary people controlling our systems. Then behind that, you've got more people doing sciencey things. Then you've got a navigation, a sort of overall station. Then you've got, captain's quarters, other quarters. You've got even a shower facility. You've got a bathroom. You've got men and women bathrooms on either side of the hull. Yeah. And then a huge sort of hangar bay area. So obviously for the game, you don't necessarily go into the crew quarters. You go into your own quarters, and I think another quarters. The captain's quarters are quite nice, and they're above the bridge area. And you get a lovely fish tank as well. Those are nice quarters. The rest of it is pretty. Yeah, I mean, obviously, just like Star Trek Online, scaling is not a problem, but they have to be bigger to let the camera move.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel too big. But it's definitely not. I think it's more like a Defiant, but less crew. Like, we're going to give the space to the people that need the space, but also have a very small crew. So I don't know the crew. I guess estimation is about 20 or 30, not including any tactical people that might be on, like, weapons officers or anything. Or gunnery people. Cool.
Well, let's move on to the next picture, because it kind of goes into my next question. Now, you said there were, like, drop craft and whatever on this as well. So is there like a large cargo area in the back that stores?
Yes.
Is it ground assault vehicles or is it all like smaller fighters and things like that?
In the first version, it was literally just a thing called a Mako, which is just an all-terrain vehicle, and you can see the hangar door at the bottom there.
Yes.
Yeah, and I believe now it's big enough for 2. But yeah, it's a big hangar for repair, restock. I believe you've even seen a scene where people jump from it. I can't quite remember. That might be the first version, to be fair, because that was quite a lot smaller. But yeah, it's for ground vehicles, and I believe there's like a speeder at one point that they steal and then hold in there. But it's a pretty big bay. I mean, you could probably fit a good couple of Type 6 shuttles from Star Trek. It's pretty well sized.
Oh, cool.
Because it is meant to be very much an A to B with sort of stealth armor and things that lets you get right into the military. I mean, how many times in the game do you go up to an installation hoping that no one's going to see you, and then you either take a shuttle down, because there are shuttles in the ship, or take sort of a landing craft, a vehicle. But yeah, it's definitely, shuttles are big things. It's the A to B stealth ship, but it's also quite powerful. I believe it has rockets, and in the battle of the second game, you can upgrade it with a whole load of technology that you find throughout the game and give it a laser cannon, I believe, and some other things.
Cool. Well, another question I have is, does it have landing gear of any type, or I can't really see anywhere on the bottom here that would support that fact.
I don't know. I think the first version, because that was much more like a 20-person crew, very limited space. I think that was more of a landing ship. This is probably that. It probably could land, in the sense that you could probably dip it down if gently, But I don't think this. I think this is the class above landing. That's why it's got the shuttles. That's why it's got those. Other things. It does crash in the game at some point. I won't tell you why, but it might not get up again. But
so it can crash, just not necessarily land, maybe.
Yes, yes. But it's a really odd design. You're right. It's very aerodynamically like jumbo jet, but it's so simple. But I have a real soft spot for the Normandy as a design. It's
cool. I totally see why. It's a neat looking ship for sure.
And one thing that sort of hits me about this design, there really isn't very many visible anythings. Where are the weapons?
Well, that kind of leads into the next photo, actually, because I just went ahead. I was going to ask, are those protrusions on the front, the kind of wing-like things, are those cannons of some kind, like some kind of laser cannon or something?
See, I don't remember so, because it is meant to be a stealth frigate. It's not meant to be specifically in combat. It's very, very maneuverable. Very, very, very maneuverable. Like I said, I know it has lasers from the front. I believe it has missiles as well, but I think those are more like to help it glide through atmosphere. I think those are actual designs. I think they're even meant to like be able to potentially do that to brake. You can see potentially a I think that is all part of the atmospheric design to give it the
cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question. Is that like a hangar door on the front at the bottom there? Because the other picture you said you can see the hangar, so I assumed it was a bay that opened up at the bottom, kind of like this. Is it okay? So my question is it kind of like drop shippy, like an X01, let's say, or do they drive out the front? Is that like a roller door on the front there?
Oh, you mean the picture we just had, the sort of front view? Yeah, no, I believe it's like it goes up. It's like a garage bay door, where the shuttles can just fly out, or a vehicle can just drive out. Okay. But yeah, the bay is actually pretty darn big. I mean, it is substantial. And one thing that's really cool about being in the sets, and obviously I've played both versions, so I'm mixed them up a little bit in my mind. But the because of the format of the game, you are the hero, and you're not necessarily controlling the whole fleet, but you have a sense of your actions are very influential in the galactic fight. So they've got this big central area that links to the bridge, where a lot of crew are, and this big galaxy map, this big holographic galaxy map, which shows you everything that's going on. Mm-hmm. So as if you would be in battle, like even though the huge ship would be the ship that would be in control, this is the sort of ship that, because it's got a stealth ability, it's so maneuverable, and it's pretty well defendable in terms of armor. It will actually be reporting back and be able to give orders to fighters and frigates. Like this will be in the middle of it. And it has that
ship, like
almost, yeah, like a fleet control aspect to it, and that might just be a sub thing about it being you're the main character. Mm-hmm. But but I love these back to the other shot. I love these details. I love the big engines. I mean, just it's so simple, but it's so satisfyingly makes sense. And one thing is worth pointing out: the actual date for the Mass Effect universe for this particular ship is 2185. So it's quite a leap, but it's kind of like sort of the refinement of the basic space tech. It's not a revolutionary ship, but it's like a very refined version of what we have. Yes.
Yeah, like, well, that's what I initially said too. It seems like this would be like one of our first kind of passenger vessels that can take us, into space, kind of thing. To get to one side of the planet to the other in like 4 hours. That's the vibe I get from this ship. But it's very much like because it does look like a jumbo jet of sorts. So, and I can that's a good time frame for it too. It's definitely, I guess, doable based on the tech that we have, the look.
It makes more sense, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And one thing I want to say, this ship is I looked it up. This ship has a decent amount of defensive capabilities. I mean, you're meant to be not indestructible, but you have a reliably good ship here. They've got something called Guardian lasers, which is a system automated defenses, which can help destroy missiles coming in or fighters. Because one thing this ship has that's pretty special is they have an artificial intelligence as part of the operation. The ship is almost alive. Almost. This gives it even better response times. And it's called Edie, and it's voiced by Tricia Helfer, who plays Cylon number 6 in Battlestar Galactica, which was an amazing casting choice. And it just really gives an extra boost of abilities, I think, and just response times and yeah.
Excellent. All right, so the next picture is the rear of the engines.
Yeah, just another detail shot where we just really highlight those cool.
No, those engines look amazing. I like that. Like I said, they look very like others, like a Star Trek-y kind of feel to them almost. You could put them on a Klingon ship and they'd be perfect.
Well, I mean, the D5 has those exterior holes, so there you go, D5.
Yeah,
details straight away. So yeah, I mean, it's a very simple ship, really. And when we get to the full Fleetyards, we'll show you the interior and really give you a sense of the ship, because the exterior is what you see, but the interior has so much character to it.
Yeah.
And it's a very long ship, and I'm actually really interested to know how big. I wish they did like a Haynes manual or a Star Wars cross section of this ship, because I'd love to see really how many people in ships. But I think the armor is a big deal for this. I think like a lot of the exterior is hull armor, and then the interior space is the is the crew quarters and things. But yeah, so that is the Normandy. Closing thoughts, and just, I mean, does it get a Captain Foley stamp of approval?
It does. It's very cool. It makes me want to play Mass Effect too. So, mission accomplished there. I mean, my son has it, so I can go borrow it. It's not a problem. He's told me I needed to play it, and I just never got around to it. I never had the time. A lot of hours.
Once you start, you really get into it, because they're excellent games, and the story is excellent. That's good. So yeah, I think you might have turned me on to a new game. So I hate you so much right now because I don't have the time for it. But that's okay. Yeah, great looking ship, and a great addition to the Fleetyards mission briefing thing that we're doing. Yay! And I always try to include this ship in a lot of things I do animation wise. If you look at the Fleetyards intro, the mission briefing one, on the left hand side, flying underneath the logo, that's this ship. Zooming. And I will say that they some amazing modder out there managed to get the game files out of one of the Mass Effect games, convert them for Lightwave, and so I believe all the models that we've got for Mass Effect are going to be the original ones, so all the great details, limited by the game engine graphics, they're not highly detailed, but this is what they look like, and we've got Reaper ships to look at, which I would love to hear your opinion on Reaper ships, and some of the other, not Bombay, that's Babylon 5, but a lot of ships in this universe. And I'd love to know your opinion, because they're all sort of different, but very sort of classic sci-fi in the sense that it's difficult to explain, but
almost like the next step of our space flight technology, like realism wise,
possibly,
which I think is very neat. That's what I like about this. So
excellent.
Anyway, I think that might be it for this episode. Yes,
number 2. Hope you liked it, guys.
Yes, so please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any Fleetyards. If you're a Star Trek fan, we also have Trekyards, of course.
just happens to be on this channel. I mean, just channels called Trekyards. I mean, it would say on my shirt if I had a Trekyards shirt, but you know.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. And of course, guys, if you want to see the full Fleetyards episodes, we need your support on Patreon, because these shows take a long time to produce. But for the full show, there'll be scale renders, there'll be animations, there'll be clips from the games, there'll be everything you would hope from a normal Fleetyards episode, and possibly even the designers. We will try, guys. So if you wanna see these full episodes for everything we're going to do on Fleetyards Mission Briefing, go over to Patreon and donate what you can. And that will all go back to just helping our main show, Trekyards, and just this channel as a whole, because we need your guys' help to keep the channel going.
All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.